Greetings, all you Xanthi virus sufferers out there, and welcome to Undeclared Bajor. This is Undeclared Bajor, a Star Trek Deep Space Nine rewatch. My name is Fletcher. About to say hello is Data.
Peldor Joy.
Peldor Joy. Today we're going to recap, discuss, and rate Season 3, Episode 10, Fascination, alternate title, The Hornying.
I was trying to come up. Apparently, the plot is based off a Midsummer Night's Dream. So I was trying to come up with like a Deep Space Nine Midsummer Night's Dream combo, but I couldn't do it.
By the way, Fascination, I just give that an F as a title.
It's so generic. I mean, once you've seen the episode, you're like, okay, I get what they're going for. But by itself, yeah, I'm just like, I don't know what that episode title means. That could be anything.
Yeah, I don't know.
We found something fascinating in the Gamma Quadrant.
Well, and that's just kind of like a not very... That definition of fascination just doesn't quite mesh exactly. Like, it's not the best word choice for what's going on in this episode.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of... Oh, let me see if I can come up with this. I'm trying to think of a word that's like...
Like infatuation.
Yeah, maybe that's... In my mind, I was thinking more of like, there's I can't think of what it is, but like a fae type word where you're like...
Like nymphomania?
No, like a fairy has charmed you and made you feel... But there's a word for it, and I can't think of what it would be. It's bugging me now, actually.
Oh, well.
But anyway.
Our discussion will contain full spoilers for the series up through this episode. If there's anything to spoil in this episode. Which Paramount Plus managed to do in their episode description again. However, we will try to keep spoilers for later in the series to an appropriate minimum. We won't reveal anything too big, like Sisko and Ducat's epic fight to the death on top of a waterfall. This episode originally aired November 28th, 1994. It was written by Philip Lezebnik. Story by Ira Stephen Bear and James Crocker. And directed by Avery Brooks.
Yep, he's back again.
You got another one in.
Okay, so let's see. This Philip Lezebnik person is new. Do we know James Crocker? That sounds vaguely familiar.
Lezebnik sounds like somebody's name backwards or something. I swear we've seen James Crocker before.
Yeah, I was about to say, that sounds vaguely familiar is what I'm saying. Lezebnik is one of several writers who worked on the scripts of the Disney films Pocahontas and Mulan. Also wrote episodes of Wings and Mutant X. 2 episodes of Next Generation, Devil's Due and Darmok.
Oh, he wrote Darmok?
Well, he wrote the story for Darmok.
Okay.
Or came up with the story, whatever. And then the teleplay for Fascination. Okay, so he's got some Star Trek experience. Okay.
Sure. Darmok, one of the all-time classic Next Gen episodes.
Yeah. Honestly, I like Devil's Due also, so
Is that the one with the person pretending to be the devil?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So just making sure.
James Crocker, writer and supervising producer on Deep Space Nine in its 2nd and 3rd season. Okay. Served as supervising producer from The Homecoming to The Jem'Hadar. Ira Stephen Bear cites Crocker as having been instrumental in the conception of the Dominion. Has also written episodes of Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, Stargate SG-1, Simon and Simon, The Outer Limits, Beauty and the Beast, and both the 1980s and 2000s versions of The Twilight Zone.
Huh.
This appears to be his last Deep Space Nine episode that he did.
Oh. Well, all I'm saying is I can't wait to hear Ira Stephen Bear's bullshitting about this episode.
Oh, there's a lot of quotes from most of the extra information in this episode is people and their quotes about the episode.
What people don't understand about this episode was the deep thematic boning.
Well, so the very first note in here is from Iron Stephen Bear, says the show originated insofar as the writers felt we needed a light show because we were coming up on Past Tense Part 1. He then describes the finished episode as dangerously wacky and says, in some ways, it works very nicely. And in some ways, you know.
Dangerously wacky.
Yep.
What a perfectly succinct review of the episode. I gotta say, this was a very hard episode to summarize.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay. So anyway. So Jake Sisko lays back on the couch, glumly dangling a Bajoran earring in his face. Sisko comes in and asks why Jake isn't helping Marta set up the promenade for the Gratitude Festival. It's Gratitude Festival time again already?
I know, right? It seems like it was just yesterday.
I mean, I guess we learned that Bajoran days last 26 hours, so who knows how long their years last.
Star Trek days always are 26 hours. I think that's always been a thing.
Oh, okay. But anyway, Jake breaks the bad news. Marta got into a science academy and is gone forever. And she died on the way to the science academy.
On the way to her planet.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess this was her planet, but...
Yeah, so... she died trying to come back to save her planet. I didn't realize, so the actress who played Marta was actually only 18.
Huh.
Which makes me feel a little less gross about it. I thought she was like in her mid-20s at least when I saw her in that episode. But it doesn't matter, she's not in this episode and she's never coming back.
Okay, apparently I'm wrong. Earth of the Future still goes by the 24-hour clock. It is Bajor that does 26-hour days. So
okay.
That's my bad. You were right.
All right. Well, I just inferred it from when Kira says, "Get ready to party for the next 26 hours," or whatever. But yeah, so Sisko's like, "Buck up. I bet you'll meet someone new at the Gratitude Festival tonight."
Which is such a messed up thing. I mean, I understand that he's trying to be like, you're still young. There's plenty of fish in the sea, whatever. But it's like the day that his girlfriend dumped him. You're like, you'll find someone new tonight. Come on, let's party.
You got to get right back in there. You're 16 years old. Come on.
It's like his first love has just dumped him or whatever. And it's like, nah, come on, you're fine. Let's go.
So yeah, but he's like, yeah, that's what the Gratitude Festival is all about. Putting the past behind you and making a new start.
Boning some new chicks.
That's what gratitude means, right?
Yeah. It does. It is a weird. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking like Thanksgiving Gratitude Festival, but no, that's not really what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of what I envisioned. It's like, everybody holds hands and they say what they're thankful for or whatever. Meanwhile, O'Brien and Bashir chat over a cup of coffee and discuss Keiko and Molly's upcoming visit to the station. Bashir is glad he'll have a couple of days free of having to substitute for Keiko at their racquetball session, what's going on in these racquetball games? I don't know.
Yeah,
Bashir worries about Keiko being gone another 4 months as his, quote, elbow can't take that kind of abuse. Odo strolls the promenade and observes the preparations for the festival. He tells Kira that he's planning on attending the festival this year, which makes Kira happy. She and Bareil would love to hang out with Odo during the festival. This disappoints Odo, who clearly remembers that Kira is going out with Bareil, but I guess was trying to look for a side door.
Yeah, he was like, I better get in there while Bareil's on the planet.
Because he's not like, I forgot about Bareil. He's like, oh, I thought Bareil would be busy down on the planet.
Yep.
Sneaky Odo. Kira heads off to the shuttle station, or whatever that place is, to meet Bareil, and finds O'Brien there waiting for Keiko. Bareil is first off the shuttle, so I guess he was like sitting in first class or something.
Yeah, probably.
And he and Kira happily skip off together. Then Keiko and Molly come out and are quite miserable from the trip. Molly doesn't feel good and throws up on the chief.
They sit down, blocking the only exit from the shuttle for some reason.
It's like sitting down right on the jetway. It's like, yay, how's it going? And like, I swear even some of the people trying to get past them, like, give them glares.
Yeah. It just, like, I swear, there's like a person who walks up behind her, you see the legs, and like, I can tell from the leg acting, it's like, well, what am I supposed to do now? I guess I'll just kind of squeeze through here.
Avery Brooks is like, oh, I know how to stage this scene. Shouldn't have given her all that candy, says a voice behind them. It's Loaxana Troy. Which I gotta say, at this point in episode, I've never been so happy to see Loaxana.
I don't think I've ever been happy to see her, but it's fine.
It's like we're launching into some Keiko and Miles miserableness. I'm like, oh, thank God it's Loaxana.
And then the look Keiko gets on her face, like, that's that woman who fed her all that candy.
I mean, I was in a bad mood because we're never going to get to see Marta's boobs again, but...
the 18-year-old girl, yeah.
Yeah, she's 18. It's fine. No, she's 20. She's a Bajoran 20. That might be an Earth 18. I don't know.
Could be.
As Odo prepares to take time off for the festival, he briefs Michael Eddington, some random guy, on filling in for him.
Yeah, doesn't it really seem like it should be Michael Eddington? Like, neither of those new characters we introduced in the first episode of the season has ever come back.
Right. He's like, hey, Romulan lady, you want to take over for me in security while I'm at the festival? At this moment, Lwaxana Troi enters the security office and begins being affectionate with Odo, as usual, ignoring his obvious discomfort.
Yep, sexual harassment day has come again.
Mm-hmm. It's that whole thing all over again.
But now everyone will get to harass.
Oh, yeah. Lwaxana reveals she's here to help Odo through this challenging time of finding out his people are evil.
Yep.
But she's like, no, I'm cool. I'm cool. Don't worry.
So in the original script, it says, Lwaxana mentions here that Admiral Nechayev is, quote, the sister I never had, and tells Odo that Nechayev is the one who told her about his people being the leaders of the Dominion.
Okay, I guess plugging what they felt was a plot hole or something. Which I don't really care. I'm perfectly willing to accept that word got back to her about it.
Right. She's a major diplomat, right?
Yeah,
so
she's high up. I mean, they're probably having like daily or weekly briefings on the Dominion. So,
yeah.
Everybody's probably pretty up to date on what that's all about. But yeah, she is ready to help him delve into the depths of his pain. That's how you hit on someone. Offer to help them delve into the depths of their pain.
Yep, delving depths. That's how you do it.
After she accompanies him to the Gratitude Festival, of course. Then Lwaxana steps into the turbo lift and winces and pinches her head. Probably means nothing.
No, it's fine.
Then we get a fun scene where Kira and Bareil discuss politics while getting sexy. But then Kira's like, oh, I gotta go hand out gratitude scrolls with Dax. And Bareil complains that Kira spends too much time with Dax. And he doesn't approve of that Dax character. She's too unpredictable or whatever.
She's too wild and free-spirited or whatever.
O'Brien and Keiko have an insufferable conversation about whether or not to go to the festival. That's all I'll say about that scene.
It is insufferable, and at the same time, I'm like, that strikes me as such a real conversation that people in a relationship have.
Yep, but that's all I'm going to say about it. Speaking of the festival begins with Kira getting up to chant in Bajoran and mix some dangerous-looking chemicals together into a big chemistry set or something.
Yep.
Everybody is happy. Kira takes Bareil's hand, but suddenly he winces and grabs his head. At nearly the same moment, Jake does the same. Then Jake glances across the room and gets a big smile on his face. Kira and Bareil are walking down the promenade, with Bareil seeming very distracted. Jake cuts in between them and gives Kira a Jumja stick, then asks to talk to Kira in private, which isn't really necessary because Bareil has already started wandering off.
Yep. Jake
confesses his deep love for Kira, but Kira is not receptive for some reason.
Apparently she didn't know that Marta was gone, so she's like, you should just tell Marta how you feel. And I'm like, but they've been dating for a while. Are you not up on the hot goss about the young people on the station?
Maybe she interprets it as him wanting to take it to the next level or something like that. It's like, I want her to know I'm really serious about this. But yeah, it's like, she spent like all of season 1 being fuck buddies with Sisko in my headcanon. So she's like, this would be a little bit weird.
In the fanfics that he wrote.
Right? In my hundreds of thousands of words of fanfiction. All of it on that topic.
What other topic is there, really?
Yeah. There's that and my Adventures of Tosk.
All right.
And then that's it.
The ongoing Adventures of Tosk.
So every once in a while, like, the action will just cut to what's going on with Sisko and Kira, even in the Tosk adventures. It doesn't connect to the Tosk story in any way.
No, it's like an allegorical connection between what's going on with them and what's happening to Tosk.
It's like it's a very clever, meaningful thematic link between these two stories. Anyway, so Dax is helping Morn burn a scroll. Apparently, Morn's just been having some issues. He's got like this huge long list of stuff he has to burn, I guess.
But Morn sighting, so there's that.
Yeah, Morn is finally back after like episode 3, so that's good. But yeah, Morn wanders off, and then Bareil comes up and starts creeping hard on Dax.
He is so like, okay, Jake falls in love with Kira, quote, and he's kind of a normal young guy in love.
Sure.
Whatever. Bareil is like super creepy. And I was like, so is this how he normally is? And we just we didn't. I guess it was weird when he had the sex dream about Kira, and then like went and made Kira have an orb experience so that maybe she would have a similar sex dream. So maybe he always has been like relationship creepy, and we just didn't notice that much. But
I think this has always been Bareil's pattern, based on just his whole thing with like, luring Kira in to look at the orb, and then he was like, "Did you see anything interesting in the orb?" Yeah, so I think this is just how he gets his dates. Odo is enjoying some Bajoran music. He's like,
he's jamming.
He's like waving his arms around or something.
Yeah.
When the Loxana comes and starts dancing with him, Odo is not receptive.
It's like, I don't dance. But you were just moving. That was swaying.
Yeah.
She's like, all right, well, let's sway then.
Sway, Odo. And then she like spins him around. It's like, do you know what swaying is?
No, she doesn't.
Trying to escape to security, he bumps into Dax, who says she is not having a good time. But then suddenly she winces and grabs her head.
But does not fall in love with Odo.
Right. Apparently, Loxana and Odo don't make it to security because 5 seconds later they're in Quark's watching some juggling, while Quark stands outside trying to hawk some souvenir pins.
Genuine, like, latinum-plated commemorative whatevers.
Or with like a picture of Deep Space Nine. They were blessed by some Vedic before he died, and he's got it all worked out. I mean,
He says that the portrait of the station is by Irmat Zim, that's an in-joke for the DS9 production designer Herman Zimmerman.
Ah, very clever, very clever. But I mean, he's totally Billy Mazing those pins, so
nobody seems at all interested though.
Maybe pins aren't really a big part of the Gratitude Festival.
I mean, everybody's supposed to write down their problems on their scroll, so
yeah, but maybe you're supposed to do it with a pencil or something.
Oh yeah, he didn't look into the thing.
Yeah.
I also like that he's wearing a Bajoran earring.
Oh yeah, he's trying to appear to get into the spirit at least. But yeah, up above, Miles and Keiko have a fight. So, which lasts like 5 minutes. I'm just gonna leave it at that. This is where she says the survey may take 7 more months or something. I forget.
Yeah.
And then there's a mysterious man that she's been confiding in, and he doesn't take it. It's not worth going into. But I think at some point he gets worried about how much racquetball, quote, he's going to have to be playing with Bashir. Later, Jake is presumably trying to track down Kira when he bumps into his dad, who wants his help setting up dinner, and advises him against continuing to pursue Kira. Jake brushes off his dad's advice and predicts that the Kira-Bareil relationship is doomed, so he needs to wait for his opportunity, and he can just swoop right in. That's the barrier to him getting involved
Obviously.
with Kira.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hold on, once we passed it, a thought struck me about, O'Brien is very unhappy that Keiko is going to be, spending 7 more months or whatever on the planet. But I thought in the moment, what did you think was going to happen?
Right.
You sent her on like a 6-month thing, which fine. You figured she was going to be on 6 months and come back. Then did you think that that 6 months would solve her career forever? You didn't think she was going to be going again? This is not a one-time career completion thing.
Yeah. No, O'Brien continues to be... I don't even know how to describe it. So O'Brien sits down at Quark's with a headache, and Quark takes this opportunity to lecture Miles on traditional Ferengi gender roles, a speech which, point by point, mirrors thousands of Reddit posts.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Miles resolves to get Keiko back. Ooh. so that we can have way more Miles and Keiko scenes. Kira runs into Bareil and tries to get in some smoochy time, but Bareil is weirdly not into it. Is this the scene where she tries to give him the bracelet? I forgot.
No, the bracelet comes from Bareil later.
I thought he got it from someone. Oh well.
No, because he says that it's been in his family for generations.
Oh, okay. Dax helps Sisko get ready for the dinner party, and Dax tells him about the Bareil issue. Sisko is the only person in civilian clothes who is also wearing a comm badge.
They really all should be.
Sisko says he'll talk to Kira about it, and Dax starts getting all lovey on Sisko, much to his confusion. At first he thinks it's a prank, but she persists, so Sisko drags her down to the infirmary. Which, just the whole scene, I was like, okay, when's he going to use the comm badge?
Honestly, I mean, that makes sense. It's there because he's got to use it in the scene, so yeah.
Right.
But weirdly, of all of the weird love relationships, even Bareil being super creepy, this one is the one that, like, makes me the most uncomfortable, where I'm just like, ugh, this is weird.
Right. It's like, aren't you that old man who mentored me? And I mean, I assume it's purely Jadzia who has the latent attraction to Sisko.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that
if that carried over from Curzon,
that's a little weird.
Which I don't think so, because I believe Curzon was quite into the ladies.
True,
from all we hear about him.
This also highlights to me how, if this episode went slightly differently, it could be just really horrifying. Where it's like, what if Dax had fallen in love with Quark? Quark would be like banging her in 5 seconds. Like it wouldn't even be a question.
Yeah. So yeah, Bashir can find nothing wrong with her. I guess he doesn't develop his test for this until later.
He just doesn't want to do any doctoring right now. He was partying, and so he's not really interested.
As I will note later, I'm pretty sure he didn't even do any real tests, but Dax chooses this moment to play it off like it was a prank, but once they're away from Bashir, she resumes all the smoochy stuff. Kira's in the Replomat, upset about Bareil, and Jake tries to use the opportunity to swoop in. It does not work.
Nope.
You wouldn't believe it. It doesn't work.
There's a great image of this moment in the wiki where it's like she's giving him this look, and then the caption is just like, Jake, do me a favor. Anything. Leave me alone.
Oh my gosh. Okay, and then O'Brien tries to patch things up with Keiko through their bedroom door. He offers to quit Starfleet to make things work, but she needs time to think. Or he doesn't offer to quit, he says he already quit.
He already did.
Let's be clear about that.
We meet Molly's stuffed animal, Piggy, as he calls him, which is clearly a Targ. Uh-huh. And then the very last note on the wiki entry for this is Molly O'Brien's stuffed animal Piggy appears to be a stuffed Targ. And I'm like, there's no appears to be. That's what it is.
I mean, somebody from the prop department had to make that. I don't think you can buy a stuffed Targ off the shelf.
Actually, I think you can.
Yeah, now that I say that, I take that back. I mean, these days you could probably buy one off of, like, Pinterest or whatever that thing is, but...
Toby the Targ. Hold on. Toby the Targ was the lead character and ostensibly the writer of a series of educational holo programs for children. Oh, so that's from some Voyager episodes where Toby the Targ gets mentioned.
Toby the Targ wrote the episodes?
I guess. The lead character and ostensibly the writer. So.
Oh, okay, so maybe just the episodes say written by Toby the Targ, wink.
And then apparently there's a reference in Lower Decks to it. And then in a box at the bottom of this entry is, it's possible that Molly O'Brien's stuffed animal Piggy was a plush of Toby.
Maybe.
But yes, you can buy stuffed Targs online.
He's like the Bluey of the Star Trek universe. Or something.
Could be.
I don't know. At the dinner party, Kira tells Bashir, Odo, and Lwaxana about the Bareil situation, which makes Bashir suspicious. He's like, wait, Bareil is sitting on Dax? That doesn't sound
That's
right.
my territory.
Yeah. Gotta put a stop to this. I already put in all that work sabotaging her attempt to go leave on the disappearing planet. Which is my theory of what happened there.
No, yeah, 100%. He messed that up on purpose.
He decides to go back to the infirmary and run those tests he pretended to run earlier for real. Kira goes to join them, but simultaneously they wince and grab their temples. As soon as they get to the infirmary, they start making out, or kind of pressing their faces together in some kind of
It's a
weird
very
way.
weird makeout session, yes.
Back at the dinner party, things are not going well. Loxana continues to pursue Odo, Bareil continues to pursue Dax, Jake hunts for Kira like a madman, and Dax pinches Sisko's butt. So it's chaos. It's dangerously wacky. Sisko calls Bashir for an update, but Bashir is too busy kissing Kira, so Odo and Loxana go down to check on him. Meanwhile, this is where Bareil tries to propose to Dax with the betrothal bracelet, which Dax just kind of takes and runs off.
Yeah, she's just like, here, let me take a look at that. Yeah, I'll take this. And then she tries to give it to Sisko in a minute.
Right. Even though, wasn't Sisko standing right there? Anyway.
Yeah. It's a very weird, almost as weird as the scene in a minute where you have the quote unquote fight between Bareil and Sisko.
So Jake and O'Brien are pouting about their women when Keiko walks in wearing the chief's favorite red dress. And then she tells him not to resign. So that's the resolution of that.
Yep.
She's like, I don't like that red dress. And then she's like, oh, I'll wear the red dress to show him that the fight's over. Yay. Although Jake gets nothing. Kira does not walk in wearing his favorite dress.
That would be really weird, actually, if that's the way the episode went.
Yep.
She's busy making out with Bashir. So.
That would be weird if all the relationships set up in this episode become permanent.
Yep. Well, one of them does, kind of, because the note in here says the attraction between Kira and Bashir displayed in the episode was more evident offset because the two of the actors have a son and were married while Deep Space Nine was still in production.
It's all because of Loxana Troy's fever.
Anyway.
So Dax tries to propose to Sisko with a bracelet, which causes Bareil to pick a fight with Sisko. Bareil loses this fight very badly.
I love the first punch. He gets in a sucker punch to Sisko because Sisko's not expecting a fight with Bareil. And Sisko, his only reaction is to look really annoyed. I have to deal with this now.
So Quark shows up with Pudding and bumps into Loxana. This causes him to wince and grab his temple. Editor's note, Ferengi are immune to Betazoid powers.
Yep, although this is apparently a disease, so the Ferengi immune system wasn't good enough to... I don't know. But that was my first thought, too. Wait, shouldn't he be, immune?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah, because, Betazoid stuff doesn't work on Ferengis. This is clearly established.
Yeah. We talked about this, the four-lobed brain and whatnot.
Right. And also Ferengis just have a generally good immune system.
Supposedly, yeah.
According to Quark.
Right.
So this makes me feel like everything that happens next is an act. But yeah, this causes Quark to start hitting on Keiko and rubbing his ear on her. O'Brien takes umbrage at this.
As he should, quite honestly.
I'm pretty sure Quark just saw everybody acting weird. He was like, oh, now's my chance. Getting a little free perving.
He would totally be after Dax, though. That's always his thing.
Yeah, maybe.
And maybe Kira. Kira's his Dax is the girl that he likes that actually likes him, kind of, and Kira is the girl that he likes because she kind of despises him.
I don't know, but apparently he has a latent attraction to Keiko.
I guess so.
Which, okay, well, let's talk about the logic of this in a second. But, somehow at this moment, Sisko decides Loxana must be the cause of all this. So we cut to everyone in the infirmary. Bashir explains that Troy has a fever, which is projecting her extreme horniness for Odo onto everybody else.
Yep.
Or, as Sisko says, someone on the station.
Yeah. Her romantic feelings for someone. Odo's standing right there. I'm not going to say it.
Yeah. The symptoms will wear off in a day or two. Cut to a day or two later when everything's back to normal.
I love Bashir. He's like, yeah, everyone will be fine in a day or two. Anyway, I got to go. I'm supposed to meet Kira in her quarters. And Sisko's like, let's maybe not do that.
Yeah. That might not work out well in the long run. Odo walks with Loxana, who calls him out on his candle holding for Kira. Or torch holding, whatever it's called.
Which, was apparently super obvious because when they walked in on Bashir and Kira making out, he was insanely furious.
Then she gives him a big smooch, and I guess heads off back to wherever.
Betazoid, Betazed, whatever.
I mean, she's an ambassador, so...
That's true. Who knows where she's going? She's going on another fact-finding mission to something or other.
I gotta go on a fact-finding mission to Ryza. I'll see you later.
Yeah, that's what these ambassadors really do. They're like, where's a cool vacation spot? I'll have a fact-finding mission.
I just remember that one line from The Wire when he's like, the mayor is here on a fact-finding mission, so if you leave any facts laying around, that shit's on you.
Also, I love her reaction, like, Xanthi fever, that only affects older betazoids. That couldn't possibly be what's happening.
Bashir makes the slightest effort to be diplomatic and say mature betazoid women.
Yeah.
So, Miles sees his family back off to Bajor, and Miles claims that he never was affected by the horniness fever, which I don't know if I believe or not. But, so this is when Keiko's like, so you don't have a latent attraction to me, which I don't think that's necessarily what that means. Like, logically, it's like only if you have a latent attraction to someone would this fever make you act out. Wait, that's the only... you know what I'm trying to say, right? Like,
yeah, I think so.
It logically doesn't follow.
But well, she's making a joke, so it's fine.
Right. And yeah, he's like, there's nothing latent about it. I want to screw you all over the place. And Molly's like standing right there. It's like, do. As they leave, Bashir tosses him a racket with a slightly too big grin on his face. Come on, let's give that elbow a workout, says O'Brien, and the two walk off together. The end.
So the note is like, this episode is important in the development of the O'Brien-Bashir friendship. The writers originally wrote Keiko out of the show so they could develop this friendship. And at the conclusion of the episode, as Keiko leaves, Bashir throws O'Brien a racket, symbolically replacing O'Brien's wife. And I'm just like, really? Is that what you read into that? Because, all right.
There's not enough room in the story for Keiko and Bashir. And so we wrote this whole thing to make room for Bashir. Is that what they're saying?
Well, I mean, they wrote like her leaving earlier in the year to make room for Bashir, I guess.
Huh. So I guess, okay, the point of this is to make it super clear. Bashir is O'Brien's wife now.
I guess so.
Okay.
The plot of the episode bears a striking resemblance to A Midsummer Night's Dream. Indeed, the writing and production staff all watched the 1935 film version of the play, starring James Cagney as Bottom, Mickey Rooney as Puck, during the early development stages of writing the teleplay. So I just they're like, okay, everybody, gather around, it's movie time. We're going to watch the 1935 A Midsummer Night's Dream to get you ready for this episode.
This is what we're going for.
Let's see. Ira Stephen Bear. Here we go. He says, the show that now and then runs the risk of pissing people or pissing everyone off. That's the first thing he says about this episode. It was a show that we developed for season 2 and never got around to doing. What I like is that I thought Avery did some nice work with the direction. Another nice thing was the Keiko O'Brien relationship. I think it was one of the most interesting threads we've ever done on the series, and some of the most real dialogue between two married people who have expectations, but at the same time can't quite sync up with each other. I remember when we watched the dailies, everyone was uncomfortable, because it really did strike close to home. Everyone had something in their lives that they could relate to it. How a relationship could seem to be bad over such small things, what seem to be small things, but are not really. I thought it was a nice human story. I thought Jake was very sweet with Kira, wanting to go out with her. Dax going after Cisco was kind of fun. I didn't think the Barial stuff worked that well, but the episode was better than it had any right to be.
The Barial stuff was way creepy.
Yeah, so creepy.
So let's break that down. So his highlight is the Keiko Miles stuff, which he says in the test screenings made people uncomfortable.
Yep.
Which he interpreted as a good thing.
Yep.
He likes the... Okay, I kind of admit I get a funny little joy out of watching Jake try to hit on Kira, but...
Yeah, no.
I'm not quite sure it's the way they intended. I guess it was a little sweet. Okay. And then Dax hitting on Cisco. I just love Avery Brooks's acting through that whole thing, where It's like his face changes like 25 times in like 10 seconds. He's like, what? What?
He's very, very thrown by this, and he probably has every right to be.
So he goes like, is this a prank? Like, is this a prank? Is this real? It's like, what's going on? How do I handle this? So yeah, that stuff was amusing. Yeah, but again, I think Ira Stephen Bear, he might be standing a little too close to things. At least the whole episode wasn't a dream.
Well, okay, so then Avery Brooks gives his valuation.
Okay.
He says, I guess it was over the top. But what is over the top after all? If you're having a pint of Guinness and you see the foam pouring over the top, you think that's great. But in a television episode, there's this concern about acting being too large. It all comes down to rhythm and whether a scene has it or not.
It's an interesting analogy.
Yeah, it really... TV is like Guinness, obviously.
Uh-huh. Okay. Any other people weighing in on this?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So Ronald D. Moore says, we thought it would be fun to come up with all these pairings and see what happens. It got a lot of divided opinion in the mail that we got. People either loved it or hated it. We think that you have to have a mix of shows. They can't all be the fate of the universe hanging in the balance. Sometimes you want to just kick back and have a little fun.
Sure.
And he goes on to say that one of the great things about the original series was that every once in a while they did trouble with tribbles, something that was just a romp. It was one flaw with the Next Generation was that we didn't have nearly enough of that. They were all too straight-laced and stiff. We just didn't have enough fun with that cast. We knew that this would be a love it or hate it show, but we definitely wanted it in the mix.
Okay.
Just enjoy it for what it is and don't get too caught up in the tech solution and the hows and the whys. So then we have Robert Hewitt Wolf, who says, I'll take the blame for that show. What we wanted to do was A Midsummer Night's Dream, the show where everybody falls in love with the wrong person, but still reveals some things about themselves. I think we learned some things about Odo and his feelings for Kira. I think that's the justification of that. We tried a lot of different ways to do that show, and putting Loxana Troy in not only gave us a little bit of emotional bottom, because she's really suffering, but it also, we thought, was a nice way to explain all of these strange things. So I like that they came up with the idea for like everyone falling in love with each other, and then like, oh, well, how are we going to do that? And eventually they're like, oh, what about Loxana? We'll have her do it.
Yeah. So, like, everybody has what's ever wrong with Loxana now.
But apparently, the people who really love this episode are the behind-the-scenes people. Because you've got the director of photography, Jonathan West, is like, this is my favorite episode. Because Avery Brooks let me try all this stuff that we don't normally get to do. There was more light on the set than usual. Color was emphasized more than usual. All the characters are bathed in a subtle pink light to enhance the mood. Balloon foil was used in the background of many shots to get random sparkles. And purple, a color forbidden from the Star Trek color palette due to its association with old science fiction artificiality, was allowed to be used.
Huh.
Oh. I didn't realize that color was so forbidden, or purple rather, was so forbidden, but...
I didn't realize it was associated with classic sci-fi or whatever.
Yeah. And so the costume designers also had a lot of fun because they got to put everybody in new stuff.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of civilian clothes.
Yeah.
And Loxana Troy had a couple of interesting outfits.
The costume guy says, everybody gets nice dress-up stuff. It gave me a chance to do all these different things.
I mean, Jake was still wearing his big pimpin' suit. And
that's true.
O'Brien was wearing his slacks blue shirt combo again.
I guess Odo doesn't change.
Yeah, Odo's still wearing his uniform.
Which is funny since he's the one that he could the most easily change into something else if he wanted.
Maybe that's too hard for him. I don't know.
Let's see. Armin Shimmerman says this is his least favorite episode. Because
of all time?
He teaches Shakespeare. And, of Deep Space Nine anyway. He teaches Shakespeare, and he said that he thought this show was embarrassing.
Okay, so he felt the spirit of the bard was not being properly honored.
I guess so.
By this adaptation of A Midsummer Night's Dream. Okay.
Alexander Siddig is also unimpressed, saying that this episode is memorable for not quite pulling off what it attempted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Terry Farrell is just very bubbly about it. What's really wonderful about Fascination is we all get the love bug, so all of us are being the opposite of what you'd expect. I fall in love with Avery, Nana and Sid fall in love, Quark falls for Keiko and O'Brien are in love again. It's really sweet, and it's wonderful, and Avery did a wonderful job of directing it.
Sure. I gotta say, if you're gonna do a Midsummer Night's Dream, it needs to be like a Q episode or something. You need to have some kind of mischievous fairy element behind the scenes, like manipulating.
That would make
things.
sense, yeah.
You can't just have people like suddenly and inexplicably getting horny for each other.
I mean, that's what you did. That's like episode 2 of The Next Generation.
The much loved episode 2 of The Next Generation.
Everyone loves the naked
now.
Whatever. Yeah, I think the Naked Time was the original series. Whatever. I always get those two mixed up.
Yep.
Let's see.
A lot of top 10 lists that episode's in.
Renee Echevarria says that there are some really nicely staged scenes. There are beautifully orchestrated tracking shots through the promenade. Really impressive stuff.
I gotta say, a lot of that festival stuff looked really good.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
All that juggler stuff and like the music stuff was pretty good. You know, like the musicians playing, and so they put a lot into that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. The last quote on here is from Majel Barrett, and I'm not sure I understand this quote.
Okay.
So she says, "It was marvelous. It was great being with everyone again, and it was also kind of nice doing a part that wasn't just the lead character all the way through. I love the idea of working with all the other characters. It was the first time since the show started that all of the DS9 characters were together on the same show." I don't think that can possibly be true.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
Say that again?
It was the first time since the show started that all of the DS9 characters were together on the same show.
Like in the same scene, maybe?
I thought maybe she's talking about the party. Or maybe honestly, like, because, like Jake is missing from lots of episodes and
Sure.
O'Brien is missing from a bunch of episodes. And maybe it's true that they haven't all been in an episode, but I don't think that could be right.
Huh. I mean, I don't care enough to actually research it, but
No. Yeah.
Interesting if true.
Interesting if true. But yes, so see, the whole article is quotes from the various people about the episode. But
Sure.
some interesting stuff in there.
Everybody has something to say.
Yep.
Well.
All right, ratings?
All right.
Are we ready for that yet? Did we have more that we want to touch on?
I don't have more I want to touch on. How would you rate this episode?
You know what? I am a fan of doing like the silly, just funny episode now and then, and it's kind of what some of the quotes were saying, where it's just like, sometimes we want to do something funny. We want to do a Trouble with Tribbles now and then. That's not anything big, and it's kind of like If Wishes Were Horses, where I'm like, it's dumb, but I kind of like it. So this one is going to be just going to be right above the line for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to call it a Lieutenant Commander.
Okay. Well, I agree. It is great to do just a fun episode every once in a while. This episode had some scenes that amused me, but I never want to watch it again. I give it a Lieutenant Junior grade.
Okay.
And I definitely was put off by all the Miles and Keiko stuff. I don't care like how real and raw it was or whatever. But we've seen them fight in like so many episodes before.
I don't know that they're ever in an episode together where they're not fighting.
I feel like, and this was like, I feel like they've had these exact same fights before too.
Yeah,
that's kind of the thing that bothered me. Nothing felt like it was moving forward. In fact, it felt like it was moving backwards, because it was the I have nothing to do episode all over again.
Yeah,
almost. And O'Brien's like, "Wait, you have something to do now? This makes me sad."
Rabble.
Anyway, yeah, but I don't want to give it an ensign because it's like, I don't feel like it's absolute garbage. But Avery Brooks did some fine stuff. But yeah, I can't think of a condensed rewatch sequence that I would include this episode in.
No, yeah, that's one of the things about silly episodes in general is they're not
Right.
relevant to the overall plot of anything, and they're usually not even very good character pieces for any particular person, because like that's the whole point, is that they're disposable in some ways. It's kind of like when they said that you almost never did that on The Next Generation. The first thing that pops into my mind is Cupid.
Oh yeah.
And where they get to go off and be Robin Hood people, and Worf is not a merry man, and all of that. And so it's like, it's kind of fun and silly, but you're not going to include that in a list of episodes that you need to watch,
Sure.
Unless it's like you're watching all the Q episodes,
Or like all the Vash episodes.
all the Vash episodes. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, obviously you got to put it in all the Q episodes. That's a Q episode if ever there was one.
I mean, you could say the same thing about this episode if you're doing a Waxana marathon, but who the hell is doing that?
Right. Someone out there. Although I gotta say, I do not enjoy seeing like Waxana constantly like having her feelings hurt by Odo's rejections. I'm like, dude, this is like,
yeah, it's awkward to watch because you know that Odo doesn't like it either. Like, Waxana has never cared about what other people think about her advances. That's like her entire character is like, I will harass you and not care what you think about it.
And they had like in that elevator episode, I felt like such a sweet moment.
Yeah.
Which kind of like ended in this like, interesting friendship between the two of them. And I felt like that was kind of undone by her coming back and just being like, okay, do me, Odo. And Odo was like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Where'd this come from? All right.
Yeah. So I felt like it didn't sit right with me. It made me uncomfortable.
Well, yeah, and then he's like in the middle of briefing this guy, and she's like, yeah, get out of here, guy. Yeah. And Odo's like, come back in 5 minutes. She's like, no, come back in 30 minutes.
Come back in 5 minutes. The guy's like, oh, I see what's going on here. Not Michael Eddington.
No, yeah, I don't even know if we get a name for that guy. He's just not Michael Eddington is who he is.
Yep. That's his name in the credits.
Let's see, I'm going to look through the who's in here. So we got also starring, that's all our normal people, guest stars Lwaxana, and I like that Lwaxana Troy's name is there, and then the next line is Philip Anglum as Vedic Bareil, but Vedic Bareil is in quotes, whereas none of the other names are in quotes.
Huh.
I don't know why that would be. We got Keiko O'Brien, we got Molly, uncredited co-stars, Rita Tannenbaum. Who's Rita Tannenbaum?
She could be one of the many like background performers or something.
Yeah, maybe. She was in Civil Defense. She was seated in front of Quark's bar on the second level of the promenade when Quark and Odo were released from the security office. Okay, so yeah, she's just hanging around. She's a background person. Okay,
she's like a Morn basically.
Station computer voice, human acrobat dancer, Jones, Broik, Bajoran civilian, Bajoran woman, human acrobatic dancer, other Bajoran woman, Morn, human contact juggler, Bajoran girl. Yeah, no, doesn't seem to be any indication of who that guy is, unless he's Jones. Hold on, I gotta look up if he's Jones. Jones was a security officer on Deep Space Nine prior to receiving an assignment to the command division on board the Enterprise D.
Huh.
Interesting.
Jones has like a whole career going on.
Yeah, I guess so.
In the background, apparently.
Oh, wow. He's in a lot of episodes of Deep Space Nine. Like, a lot. Okay.
Huh.
But what was he doing in this episode? The House of Quark, Second Skin, Defiant. Fascination. Oh, yep. Okay, so Jones is the guy in the security office. So, yeah, okay.
Apparently he just goes to serve on the Enterprise later? He must be on the Enterprise in Generations, I guess.
Yeah, I was about to say, well, but like Generations should have happened now or really close to now. So I'm like, if he was on the Enterprise after this, it wasn't for very long. But no, he's in Hollow Pursuits, in Menage a Troy, The Best of Both Worlds 2, Data's Day. So Drumhead, he was definitely on the Enterprise before this. Maybe they just phrased it wrong when they were.
Oh, maybe he like just goes back and forth.
He's present at the memorial service for Ro and LaForge in the episode where everyone thinks they're dead.
Yeah, that sounds definitely backwards.
Oh, yeah, because then it says 2369, he was transferred to Deep Space Nine.
Okay.
That explains it.
I'm sure there's a novel all about it.
Oh, yeah, you think Jones is in some books? Man, I want to know now.
The Star Trek Jones series of novels. Later, he got on the Voyager.
He was on the Defiant during Star Trek First Contact, because he gets beamed aboard the Enterprise E, and then I guess is a part of the away team down to Bozeman, Montana. That's how they explain his presence as part of the away team.
Did we see him on the Defiant?
I don't know. There's that one guy on the Defiant who's like banging the weapons because they're not working, and that's when Worf's like, ramming speed. Yeah. So maybe he's that guy.
I don't think he was that guy.
Yeah, it doesn't say he was that guy. I feel like it would have mentioned that. Oh man, he goes all the way to the final episode of Deep Space Nine. This guy. I need to remember this guy. He's very important.
We gotta have a Jones watch now.
Yeah, I'm not gonna remember what he looks like.
Yeah, there's no way.
Okay, sorry.
All right. Well, anything else before we wrap up?
No, that's all I got. Just everyone out there, watch out for Jones.
Yeah, we are starting Jones Watch, but only you are doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that does it for us today. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. Check out the description where you may find links to interesting things. I'm Fletcher. About to say goodbye is Data.
See ya.
Yeah, there's no Peldar goodbye or whatever.
Peldor. I was going to say something rude, but that's not necessary.
Till next time, don't forget to kiss the Nagus stick. So rainy. Okay.